The time is now 5 o'clock. The Montgomery County Board of Education Board meeting is now being called to order. We have an established quorum. At this time, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
It has been motioned and second. All those in favor do so by showing of hands. It's unanimous. Today we'll receive as information a presentation from HYA by Dr. Joseph and Dr. Lee. This is in reference to the Montgomery County Board of Education superintendent search. So at this time, if you all would come to the podium.
Push the button, right? There we go. Good. I got so excited. I just I just started going. But good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Joseph, and I'm the lead consultant for this presentation today. And I'm here with Dr. David Lee, who will introduce himself in a moment. But it is a blessing and an honor to be here to support you in this superintendent search. You have a very fine school district, and I think this is an opportunity. I think whenever you have a superintendent search, it's an opportunity to really galvanize the community about your shared moral purpose to do right by the children that you serve. So as we walk you through this presentation, we hope by the end you'll have a clear understanding of kind of the journey we'll be on for the next 3 months. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have. So we can pull the presentation up. Sure. Okay, again, the board has an awesome responsibility, and it's really to understand your stakeholders' desires and to collectively come together to communicate to the world. This is what we're looking for in our next superintendent. And it's our job to support you in your effort to find a leader who's the best match for the Montgomery School Board. Again, I'm Sean Joseph, and I have been in education now since 1996. I actually got into education by accident. I went to Lincoln University, which is America's oldest historically black college, founded in 1854 up in Pennsylvania. And I actually went to be a medical doctor. Make a long story short, I met a student from South Philadelphia High School who couldn't read. And I couldn't understand, how do we put people on the moon, but we don't teach children to read in this country? And that changed my trajectory. So I switched from being a biology major to being an English education major. And I went on to become a reading specialist, an assistant principal, a dean of students. I was Maryland State Principal of the Year in 2009, supervised 34 schools, all in Montgomery County, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. And then I supervised 34 schools before becoming a superintendent of schools in Delaware, then a deputy superintendent in Prince George's County, then superintendent of schools in Metro Nashville Public Schools, before leaving to become an associate professor at Fordham University. And for the past 5 years, I've been at Howard University, where I run the Urban Superintendents Academy, and I'm on the tenure track there. So again, it is an honor and privilege, and I don't take for granted the great responsibility that we have in this moment to get you an extraordinary superintendent. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Lee, to introduce himself.
Thank you, and good evening. I share the comments with Dr. Joseph. I've been in education, I think, since the earth was cooling. It seems like that long. But I, too, have come through the arena as a teacher, as a principal, as superintendent of schools, deputy state superintendent for the state of Louisiana. And I am currently a professor of educational leadership at the University of Southern Mississippi. And I trained school boards. We've done extensive research on school boards and have a National Center for School Board Training. And that takes a lot of time, as you well know. But looking forward to working with each of you and going out and seeking and finding you the very best superintendent that's out there to come in and to lead this school district. I do have a grandson right up the road at Auburn, and I've got two granddaughters. One of them is still at the University of Alabama, and the other one graduated from the University of Alabama. And then my other one graduated from South Alabama and Mobile. So we do have ties right up the road to Auburn. Always good to come over, and it's good to be able to come over and go visit when I come. But thank you so much for allowing us to do this search with you. I promise you, it'll be a great relationship. You'll be proud you did, and we're going to bring you an outstanding, outstanding leader. Dr. Joseph. There you go.
Thank you. In addition to Dr. Lee and I, we have Mishka Bibb. She'll be on the team. Mishka is currently a council member in Memphis Shelby County. She used to be the board president in Memphis Shelby County Public Schools, and she's joined the Hazard Young Associates team. And then we also have Dr. Connie Evelyn, who's been a superintendent for over a decade in New York, and now she's written a book on superintendent evaluation and providing support. So we brought we think an all-star team to help you both find people regionally and nationally as we go across. And I think that's what HYA does best. We have 140 associates throughout the country. So when we recruit, I think that's where we excel, both locally, regionally, and nationally. We try to look for people very broadly through vast networks. There are a number of superintendents academies around the country. There are a number of state associations across the country. We tap every, we look through under every rock and every corner to find candidates and tell the story of Montgomery. So it's important for us to listen deeply to what it is that you're looking for, because there are lots of people who want to be superintendents, but we know a successful superintendent board relationship is like marriage. You've got to be able to listen well, you've got to be able to communicate well, and you've got to understand each other's idiosyncrasies. So we get down into the details to really try to help you find that right candidate. A little bit about HYA. HYA is a woman-owned firm. It's been in existence for 35 years doing executive searches. We've done over 1,600 executive searches to date, about 80 plus searches a year, and we have about 130 plus nationwide associates, with 35% being people of color, 49% being women. And we have a network to aggressively recruit for our positions. We work to really engage communities deeply. We will take time and do as many community meetings, interviews that you deem is appropriate to truly understand the DNA of Montgomery Public Schools. So that way when we go out and we look for people, we're very clear, about what it is that we're looking for in your next superintendent. We'll be very responsive. You can see, I know Erica and I were on the phone last night at about 9:45. You can call us anytime, day or night. We'll be available and responsive to your needs. We get about a 9.4 out of 10 on our client satisfaction, and we're striving for 10. So we're trying to figure out where that 0.6, where we went wrong, so we can get better at it. Because we believe communities just deserve excellence, period. And so we'll strive to do that. And we use a lot of research and analytics as we go through the process, and we'll talk to you about that a little bit to make sure, again, that we have the right community superintendent match in your process. And we're fully backed with an office and IT staff to help ensure that the process is seamless as we go through. And we have partnerships, formal partnerships with AASA, which is the American Association of School Administrators, ALAS, which is the Association of Latin American Superintendents, NAPSE, the National Alliance of Black School Educators, state affiliates, urban superintendents academies, universities, the American Educational Research Association, AA, SPA, and SBA, and other other superintendent academies around the country. So again, we tap and make sure people know that the opportunity is there. And we know that our timeline is short here, so we'll have to be very aggressive in assuring that people know about Montgomery and we can follow through. Most recently, we're in the process. I actually lead the search for Clark County, which is Las Vegas, Nevada. So we're in the process of doing that search right now, along with a number of others. I supported the Atlanta search recently that brought them Dr. Brian Johnson. And you can see a list of the districts that we've recently done. So again, we understand large, complex districts and really take time to understand what this particular community wants in their superintendent. That's important to us, again, that we listen deeply to parents, to students, to board members, to the business community, to your politicians, to be clear about what we are. I mean, I think you have to have clear vision, to achieve and get to the destination that you seek to get to. So, our goal is always to produce for a board a diverse slate of candidates to meet the needs of the leadership profile, and we think that that is important. That we bring you a slate that is diverse in every aspect of the word diversity with excellence as we look for candidates. As we look at our signature process, we really have 4 steps in our process. Step 1 is an engage phase. That's where we work to understand the desires of your organization. Step 2 is our recruitment phase. That's where we bring the widest range of candidates that meet the requirements that you seek. Step 3 is the select phase, and this is the process that we have that will take you through to select and arrive at the best match for your particular community. And then step 4 is optional, and that is a transition phase where we can support you and the new superintendent in your marriage together. Again, as we look at the timeline right now, according to your RFP, you'd like to have your superintendent selected by sometimes the end of March. So having said that, again, that is an aggressive search. It's not an impossible search, but it just means Dr. Lee and I have our work to do as we get out and recruit and identify candidates. But the month of January, if we were to proceed, would be we'd launch the orientation process for the search. We'd lock in, and the board would vote on whatever optional services you so desire. We would identify when we do the leadership profile, when we do the interviews, what the interview process would look like. So we'd lock all those dates in and publicize that as soon as possible so people are clear that that's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Then the board would have the interviews regarding the desired characteristics. So we'd go through the process of interviewing board members, interviewing community members, doing surveys within the community, so that way we can come together and going into early February, present you a leadership profile, which communicates exactly what the community would like. And we bring a draft to you just to ask, did we get it right before we finalize it? So we don't want the board to just vote on our rough draft. We put it out, hopefully give your community an opportunity to look at it, give some feedback, and then bring back to the board to refine. So that way, once that profile is out, everybody feels good, and there's a sense of cohesion and clarity and unity around what you're looking for in the next superintendent. Then we have a survey that's optional that we could put out. We strongly recommend that you have it because a lot of times people don't always come to the focus groups and the interview processes, but they will complete a survey. And I think it's really important that you have your students participate in the surveys because they're the client that is most close to receiving the services that you provide. So having the survey out for at least 2 weeks to gather information from the community. But again, we focus on individual interviews, focus groups, and community engagement. And then we'd also put the advertisement out, and the advertisement would go live for the month of January and the month of February. Your leadership profile would be delivered to you in February. And then in late February, we would present to you a slate of candidates. These would be HYA would, based upon what the community said you desired, we would look through all of the candidates that applied. We would recommend to you, this is what we believe are the candidates that best fit the profile that you identified. But it's important for us that you see everything. So we'd give you the folks who we think you should interview, but then we'd also show you the folks we did not include, and we could talk to you about why this candidate did not go in versus the last candidate, and then we'll also say these are the people who just don't, fulfill the Alabama requirements to be a superintendent. You always have people who just apply, just just to apply. They never, they don't have anything on any of the criteria, but they just won't be your superintendent. So we take their stuff in and we let you know about it. But it's important that you see everybody. And when we give you the materials, we'll give you the materials to every single person that applied as you go through. So know that, because again, we see ourselves as facilitators of a process. It's the board's process. So we help you do that, and we can talk more about that as we move through. But we present a slate to you in late February. And then in March, we would have the interview rounds. And we would recommend 3 rounds of interviews. A first round interview where people would have an opportunity to present to the board and community, communicating to them what they think the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities are, and how they would approach the work, and allow the board to ask questions. Then the board would be able to narrow down the group based upon that we can come to a magic number once you know the candidates, but then have a second round that's more in-depth interviews. And then we think you can narrow down to more to maybe have 1 or 2 finalists that come out, and you'd have an opportunity to have those finalists communicate to the community. Or, there are lots of different ways to do that. And a part of the initial conversation that we would have is what would be in the best interest of this community on how we go about doing that. But, there are some communities that, I think because of your laws in Alabama, your presentations must be public, but there are some instances where in some states you can have private situations where they might bring in a small group that signs non-disclosure forms to inform the board on information, but here it has to be public. So, we discuss how that could be done. But we always think it's important that we gather data and information from the community to share with the board as you make this important decision that will affect the entire community. But once you select your candidate in April, the transition process would begin. So HYA believes that every child has a right to a quality education, and recruiting, developing, and retaining great leaders is essential to improving your district's student outcomes. And so we think it's important for us to have strong relationships. So we'll work to build relationships with you as a board, to hear from us. We'll make sure all board members have access to us, and you can, speak with us, and we'll clarify any aspect of the process. But we work with you. We'll work with your students, the candidates, internal candidates, and external candidates. And that's something, as a decision we talk about as a group. There are districts that believe that any internal candidate should have an interview. There are others that say, no, firm, we'd like you to evaluate them like you evaluate everybody and make a recommendation. Culturally, the board would inform us on how you'd like to deal with internal candidates who decide to look at the process. But no, we work with everyone because it's a huge responsibility and opportunity to serve. But this is your search, so know that at any point you tell us how you'd like the process to go. If anything needs to change, we can be as efficient or extend things. We'll constantly ask you. Ultimately, it's your decision. We'll structure things for you, but we want you to know it's your process because you understand your district's needs. We'll try to help you stay focused on your strategic plan and the goals that you have aligned within your strategic plan, and we'll follow the timeline that you feel is best for this community. And again, we strive to customize for you. So, lots of things, once you tell us what you want, then it's our job to make sure we execute on what it is you say you would like to achieve. And then again, we have no sitting current superintendents working for us. So everybody, I did that 5 years ago and don't plan on going back. Dr. Lee's done it for a while because we don't want any issues there. You know uh, we focus on supporting you and your district and your interests. Again, we've been doing this for 35 years, and we've got a lot of folks who we've worked with. We aggressively recruit, and again, we want to make sure everything is pristine for you as we move through the process. For us, it's really important that we understand your district and that we take, again, time really researching, looking, working with your team to get things right for the community. But we will take time to look at the board strategic plan if you have one. We will definitely interview each board member individually for about an hour. And those would be individual board meetings. We work with the board and your team to identify who in the community should we go to. And, I think we make recommendations to you because sometimes, every board doesn't have the greatest relationship with the community. And sometimes it's great to have a surrogate to go on your behalf. So we talked to you about that. Are there community groups that you might want to co-sponsor activities with to bring people out for a focus group to get information? We'll use your expertise and your insight to help us identify which groups should be formed and where those community forums should take place. And we'll do community forums, interviews, and focus groups virtually or in person, as many as you'd like, whatever works best for your community. So you just have to let us know what you prefer as you do that. In the package that we proposed, you would have a total of 32 individual or focus groups or collective meetings that are a part of that package, and then anything more would be something customized that we could talk about. But we find 32 meetings tend to be more than enough to really get rich information from the community as you go through. And then in addition, we have the stakeholder survey that really provides invaluable feedback to you, helping you understand the perceptions of the district from multiple stakeholder viewpoints. So we serve to be your ambassadors. We work to listen deeply, and we work to validate constituent perspectives as we go through the process. As I said, in terms of your meetings, we're very versatile in format. We can do face-to-face meetings, Zoom meetings, or any type of mode other than Zoom. But we can go to various locations and we gather feedback. We tend to find lots of people email us, communicate with us as we're going through the process, and we keep the board updated and establish a process to make sure that when that information comes in, it's responded to appropriately. We can have flexible meeting times, so we'll meet whenever is best for you, morning, afternoons, or evenings. We're happy to be here weekdays or weekends. In terms of focus groups, we give you a recommended list. We definitely think it's important that you, at minimum, have your high school students interviewed as a part of the process, but also parents, certified staff, support staff, administrators, business partners, other businesses, civic groups, booster clubs, PTOs, and others, community groups recommended by the board. Again, I can tell you in Clark County, which is America's 5th largest district, and I'm doing that search, we had about 86 focus groups. Because again, very large, they have 300,000 students, so large is relative, right? So they decided to have about 86 focus groups in their particular process, morning, noon, and night, all throughout the county. So that was a busy time, but just know we're flexible and can do whatever the board wishes for us to do. And then also, we seek diversity and inclusion. So we seek to reach all community members and stakeholders and coordinate for various languages. So we do have the capacity to put out written materials in any language that you need them put out in. And we work with you or local community agencies if you need multiple languages within the community forums. We had a research-based stakeholder survey that we put out. What's powerful about the survey is that it allows you to understand the perspectives people have of your district in multiple domains from their perspectives. And you get a report that looks something like this, where each bullet represents a different stakeholder group. So you can see the differences in perspective people have within your community. I think that's extremely important because sometimes we see the world through our perspective, and sometimes we think one thing, but students might think something totally different. Parents might think something totally different, and that helps you as a board in terms of your leadership steps, and it'll definitely be good feedback for your aspiring superintendent to understand the complexity and nuances of the opportunity and the challenges that lie ahead leading the Montgomery schools. And a little bit about HYA, and I think what gives us an advantage to some of the other search firms that are local and national. We have about 21,000, 380 enrolled subscribers to our monthly newsletter that goes out. And so this job will be in that newsletter that goes out to all of those people throughout the country. We have about 44,000 unique users on our website looking for jobs. We put on our website all of the superintendent jobs that are out in the country, not just the ones that HYA do. And the reason we do that is we want to draw people to be a one-stop shop. If you're looking for a job, you come there, because whether we're doing it or somebody else is doing it, you can find it. So strategically, that gets us 44,000 people looking at our site when we put things up there. We have a candidate profile system with 7,000 people who specifically registered for Hazard Youngity and Associates to say, keep us updated if there's a search that comes in. And they put their state in, they put where they'd like to look for a superintendency. So as we do the initial filters and push out, it's easy for us to push out and touch 1,000 people or multiple thousand people very quickly. Well, we know the work of superintendents as a result of our strategic planning, equity, and executive coaching collaborative. So, HYA is much more than a executive search firm. We do lots of other things that we can talk about at other times, but because we are deeply working in school systems on multiple levels, we meet great people throughout the country as we're doing the work, people who are in cabinet level and other positions. Now, our associates lead urban superintendent academies, such as myself, and aspiring superintendent academies, and are founding members of ALAS and NAPSI, and 130 practicing associates, experts in education, with strong networks to candidates, and we attend many state and national conferences. HYA excels at navigating the needs of the needed confidentiality to attract top candidates in complex, dynamic political challenges and board dynamics, while promoting the strengths and capabilities of the districts and candidates. Again, we work with some of the largest, most complex districts in the country, so we understand complex, I guess, in complex situations, and we, I think, candidates are eager to collaborate with us because we know we keep the confidentiality and nature of the work, to ourselves as we work to ensure that the board has a great shot in attracting and retaining a high-quality candidate. HYA associates have access to applicants from every search through Frontline to assist with recruiting. And we also create a candidate profile system with a dashboard. we'll be able to give the board access to a dashboard that has all of the information that guides you through the process. So we give you a one-stop shop electronically, and we'll also give you a set of PDFs if you need that. I know everybody doesn't like to get on there clicking, so for the old school folks, we got something for you. And if you like to just have everything and be paperless, we can meet your needs pretty seamlessly. And then as it relates to transition, we have a transition phase that's optional to guide the communication of your critical work together with your new superintendent. And we definitely will support you in debriefing the superintendent search process and assist with transition. We can mentor and support superintendents after placement. The perfect example, when the search was done for the superintendent in the school district of Philadelphia 3 years ago. I worked directly with Dr. Tony Watlington for his transition into the superintendency in the school district of Philadelphia, and worked with his 100-day plan, his transition team, working with the board, establishing their strategic plan, and having KPIs and dashboards to communicate to the public clearly and effectively about performance and how they were moving forward as they were going through. So we have the capacity to support those efforts and provide executive coaching, not just for a superintendent, but supporting the board's work and establishing the goals of the superintendent, the board's goals, the board's plan, how's the board's plan aligned to the school improvement, the strategic plan, all of those details that can be important. We also take time to document what was learned during the search process. Hopefully, this will be the last search process you'll have in a decade. I mean, that's the goal, so you don't have a constant churn. But we'll definitely communicate accountability to the board and the community, and define school quality based upon the priorities of the board and the community. And we do give a dashboard for you for free for the first year. Why they do it for the first year? Because they want to try to charge you afterwards. Just full disclosure, right? But the first year they give it to you, they'll populate it and help you if you choose to use it or you want it for your district or your schools to help with transparency as we move forward. So that's all I have at this time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Cloud.
Good evening.
Turn on my mic. I listened to everything you said. I think it's very important that we include the parents throughout this, but the parents are the ones that give us their children to educate
Yes.
and to keep safe and to go forward in their lives for their next level of education. A partnership with the PTA
Yes.
would be most beneficial, so I want to include that organization in
Yes.
our whatever rounds or the in-person or whatever, that they need to be included, because they're the ones that are the boots on the ground day to day with our PTAs and our parents.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a former PTA president, so I'd say yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions?
Dr. Joseph, I just want to say I'm pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
And with Dr. Lee. When you got up and spoke, I thought of the movie Waiting for Superman,
Yes.
which was filmed right here in Montgomery, part of it. And one of my people at the state, Dr. Tony Thacker, was in the movie. And I didn't know him then, and I wanted to go up and meet him and say, hey, I saw the movie, because that was like my birthday present to myself. And the day I met him at actually a party at the lake, and he told the story about this kid that wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And that's all. And he said, that's all I did. He goes, I taught him biology and all this, and he kept saying, I want to grow up and be a doctor, and I want to. And all of a sudden, Tony Thacker had these tears, and it was the doctor that said, I want to be a teacher. And when you were talking, I was like, oh, it's him.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't. But the fact that you the fact that you gave up being a physician and to be a teacher, I don't know, it's awesome. And what I've heard about y'all, what you've said, the fact that you're going to work with us, and I think you already have. I'm not a part of this, but from what I've heard, there are people sitting on this board right now. I'm the oldest person on this board. Meaning I've been here the longest. And we just listen, and I feel like we've been rubber stampers. I feel like somebody comes in and says, hey, this is what it is, this is what the contract says, y'all want it or you don't. And we go, okay, we want it. And from what I've heard has happened in the just last couple weeks is y'all do negotiate. You do hear us. I honestly, I do real estate as a side thing and negotiate that all the time. I didn't ever think you could negotiate. And when I heard that you have negotiated and how you negotiated, and the fact that you want to bring parents and even the students in, I feel safe with y'all. I just and Dr. Levy, and I think from Southern Mississippi, that's where my first husband was from, which is not a bad thing, but he played football for Southern Mississippi. So I feel at home with y'all. So I really appreciate y'all
Thank you.
being here. I feel safe.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Portis has a question.
I have one question. Excellent presentation. I like, Lisa, I like the part of the presentation where you told us what we're responsible for.
Yeah.
And that's ownership. But I do have one question. I know in past searches, the community was asked for their feedback. But I never came away really understanding how the board and the committee would get the feedback. When we invite people out and ask their feedback, how will you get that information back to us?
So two things. We provide a summary of each of the focus groups that are done. So we'll say, the focus group at Thurgood Marshall Middle School, 34 people there, and here were the themes that came. And we could include that in the leadership profile as part. And then also, as you go through, you get to the phase where they're interviewing. We can set up, QR codes, for example, for people to be able to write feedback about how they think candidates are, collect that information, and then we can share that with the board. So then the board can see the reactions to candidates as well as part of your deliberations.
Okay, Ms. Cloud has a question.
The strategic plan is important for you to look at, but to me, another piece that's important is the curriculum audit that we went through.
Yes.
That really is intent on what our purpose is for our children.
Yes.
That's where we do everything for them to be able to excel in learning.
Yes.
So that,
Yes.
I'd like for you to have that piece also, the curriculum audit.
Yes, and no, anything that you give us, you can share. You can choose to include the curriculum audit as an addendum to the leadership profile. So anybody who's seeking the position can also see, here are things that are very important to us in addition.
Thank
We'll
you.
definitely look at it as well.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great presentation. At this time, the board will consider for approval the HYA Associates contract. The board chair will be making the recommendation. So I am recommending that we approve the HYA contract for the superintendent search. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move approval of the HYA contract as presented.
There, it has been motioned and second. All those in favor of approving the contract do so by a showing of hands. It is unanimous. All right. Before we adjourn, I just want to make one announcement. Our next meeting date is Tuesday, January the 14th at 5 o'clock. Same location. It will be a regular board meeting in this room. Immediately followed by that, we'll have our work session. I think it should be flip-flopped, but it'll be the work session. No, I'm right. Board meeting, then work session. Sorry, I had a little lapse of memory there. But At this time, our meeting is now adjourned.